Dennis, you there?
What's going on, Brian?
So I see a bunch of speakers up. Did you let those people up? I was just checking.
No, not me.
Huh,
Weird.
it's weird.
Wasn't me either.
Okay,
Sometimes
that's
when you
exciting.
boot, sometimes at the beginning of the spaces, like it actually let me do the same thing. It was like, do you want to be a speaker? I have not figured out why it does that. It's like before you join, there'll be this little button like join as a
When you're
speaker or
setting up the space, you decide if you want to let people in when they come in, or if you want to invite them.
Oh,
I see. Okay. Um, definitely some. I mean, definitely happy to have people up here with you guys. I mean, you're sort of like running the show, but there's already a couple people up here that I think would be
yeah.
great speakers. But I'll leave it up to you to start that process.
So the issue is we're expecting some bigger names here, like politicians. So I want to leave some openings here. If I bring you down, don't get offended. I'm just trying to make sure we have room for some other people that I'm expecting. And if you're in here and I was expecting you, please raise your hand to speak. We're gonna get started in a couple minutes. I am gonna bring some people down, and like I said, don't get offended. Just give me a couple minutes here.
If you go into settings, Brian, I found it. Actually, I will. You re-invited me as a co-host. I'll fix that setting. I can see how it's just letting people continue to roll in and accept
Yeah,
those spots.
I think it's adjusted, but go ahead. If you see it, go ahead too. Um, but yeah, I'm waiting for Will and Clay to come in. I know they wanted to start things off. I'm also waiting for Anthony Scaramucci possibly, and also Governor Paulus.
Governor Polis is here. Governor, I invited you to come up and speak. You should be able to accept that invite. Wait, now I don't see him here. Wait, there he is. I'm going to invite you again. Should pop up on your screen, and you should be able to accept it.
Okay, hey, this is Jared Polis. You guys able to hear me okay? Just want to make sure I'm on.
Yep,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thanks for
Yeah,
doing this.
so we're going to get started just in a minute. I'm just trying to get the speakers up on who I promised to be able to speak. I thought you were great. I listened to the whole hour and a half. A lot of great politicians, business leaders. I was surprised that Schumer was there, Senator Schumer. That was awesome. I think that surprised a lot of people, especially the things that he said. But I guess we can start with you, Governor, since you're here and since we're just getting off of this Zoom call or StreamYard call where I don't know how many people listened. It was over 1,000, I believe, and it was something that I think a lot of Democrats might not have expected only a year ago. But things are changing within the crypto space. You brought up many good points. You talked about need for regulation. You brought up Mt. Gox and FTX. I actually lost a lot of money in Mt. Gox 10 years ago, a lot of Bitcoin. So that's on my mind, right? Like we all need regulation, but we need sensible regulation, right? Like, and how do you kind of toe that line between sensible regulation and over regulation? And how do you think we're going to do that in Congress? I know you're not in Congress, but I'm sure you have some advice.
Yeah, totally. Great question. And by the way, Brian and Ed, love you guys, and you're a breath of fresh air on X, and just appreciate all you're doing, and thank you. So your guys are just great, awesome voices. So I've been as we just, and so for those who don't know this, we just came off of a crypto for Kamala call. So we had a lot of great legislative leaders, really showing just the excitement about unambiguously pro innovation, pro disruption, pro crypto Democrats, and how we're excited about this opportunity with Kamala Harris to really elect somebody who understands innovation and gets it. And yeah, like any tool, and let's speak about let's speak about both blockchain as a tool, but more specifically, obviously, a financial tool in the case of crypto per se. Of course, people need to have confidence in it, and there have been, as you know, some problems, whether it's FTX or I'm sorry to hear Mount Gox in your case, and for it to catch on. Just like we have FDIC insuring bank accounts, as many of you know, right? Like if your bank goes out of business, you don't lose your money. And that's a great thing because regular, ordinary people shouldn't have to worry about like losing your money in the bank. And that also prevents panics, and it's a big deal. So we need to have, and unfortunately, the word regulation kind of is a negative connotation. So I don't know if there's something else we can call it or what, but like that's basically what we're talking about is how we can make sure we have the financial certainty that like everybody's on the up and up, that our criminal laws are being, enforced, that bad dudes, and you know what? There's nothing special about crypto. There's bad dudes in any space, right? There could be a bad dude in a dry cleaner who steals your clothes and your wallet if you leave it in. There could be a pickpocket. It could be anybody, but like, they need to be prosecuted and held accountable. And so that's kind of what we have to do. I get the word regulation is one that, just like you, I kind of have an inherently kind of negative reaction to that word because, like, who wants that word? But it's really about just protecting consumers from bad guys and criminals. And so I think that's the way to frame it. And it's important for crypto to catch on, for crypto to succeed. People have to have confidence in it, just like any technology. And I think we can help establish confidence in it, and promote more innovation if we get it right.
I think it's important that Bitcoin and crypto take off in the United States, and the United States is a leader in the innovation. Because if it leaves the country, then there's absolutely no oversight whatsoever by the US government in many cases, and people can lose a ton of money to these foreign crypto run companies. Whereas if it's in the US, you are more protected. The consumer is more protected by the government of these through if they invest into these companies, or if they, you know, partake in any of these cryptos.
And that's an advantage America has, right? Like, are you going to end up without, you're not going to like deposit your money in a random bank in Gambia, right? You don't know if that's going to be worth anything the next day. Like, I have these, I give my kids, our kids are, I think, similar age to yours. I have a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, but like, we got these Zimbabwe banknotes that are like $1 billion Zimbabwe dollars because they had like hyperinflation, right? Because, basically their government had ridiculous, unsound monetary policy, and you can buy them for $1 on Amazon, and you can get like $1 billion Zimbabwe dollars. But like, people need to have confidence, and that's like part of America's competitive advantages. Yeah, I mean, can you lose your money here and like buy a stock that goes down? Can you buy a Bitcoin and it goes down, or Ethereum or whatever? Sure, but we don't want it to be a scam. You get what you paid for, and it's on the up and up. And if there's a criminal out there, then they should be held accountable.
So I guess one question I have, and I think a lot of probably people on the other side of the aisle, Republicans and maybe independents as well, have, especially those within the crypto space. How confident are you that President Harris, if she wins, which we all hope she does, I think, how confident are you that she would do a crypto reset and push more towards favoring crypto on a federal level than some of her predecessors
Yeah,
have?
I see her as somebody who's like totally pro innovation, right? And I just use crypto blockchain. That's one example of innovation. She is obviously from California. She gets it. She's a different generation than Joe Biden. She has lots of friends and advisors. I'll be in her ear. Many people will be in her ear to make sure that they really do the right thing on supporting pro innovation policies. So I think it's a great opportunity to reset. I don't think the Democrats need to reset. There's been Democrats like me, and you saw on the call so many other members of Congress that have always been solidly pro crypto, right? I think they mentioned I started the blockchain caucus when I was in Congress. I think they said they got 70 some House Democrats like to support pro crypto, letter. So I mean, it's always been totally fine for Democrats to be pro crypto, but we just need to make sure we have one at the top. And I think with Kamala, we'll have somebody who listens to us. And I'm excited to be one of those many voices in her ear.
So I see a hand raised. I want to see if Ian, even Ian Calderon, do you have anything to ask Governor Paulus or anything you add here? I know you were in politics as well, correct?
No, yeah, I really appreciate the time, guys, and thank you for organizing this. And Governor, it was great to hear you on the Crypto for Harris call. I served in the legislature as the majority leader in the state assembly. I was the first millennial ever elected to the state legislature, youngest majority leader in the history of the state. I created the blockchain working group, worked on this policy area before anybody else was working on this in this space when I was in the legislature. So it was really good to see so many strong Democrats coming out. I mean, Adam Schiff, I've known Adam Schiff for a really long time. He and my dad served in the state Senate together, and they were roommates back when they served together. So to see him on there and everybody else, it was really good. And I've really been very impressed with the work that Governor Polis has done in his state in Colorado. And I've been very interested in this space for quite a long period of time. I see this as a huge opportunity for creating wealth. I mean, I bought Bitcoin for all my kids. I have 4 kids, 7, 5, 4, and 2. That is where my wife and I have decided to put our money to save for their college and their plans. And I just see a lot of opportunity right now in politics, in legislation, and an interest, especially from the Democratic side, to really take a leadership role in this space. And I think that it's really important. And if you want to impact what President Harris is going to do whenever she gets elected, you have to create a groundswell. You have to motivate people that are going to be talking to her, that are in her inner circle, to say, hey, this is an important space, and you need to pay attention and really think hard about creating policy to keep creativity and innovation in the United States. We talked about this all the time in California. When she was Attorney General and I was in the legislature, we talked about this issue all the time. And I know a lot of people that are close to her. These people have either been or are now just starting to come online when it comes to being supportive of this space. So I think the work that you guys are doing, Brian and Ed, especially the work that Dennis is doing. I mean, what a warrior! The amount of traveling and fighting that he does all across the country to just educate people on the space and get pro crypto, pro Bitcoin policy out there. I mean, it's amazing, and that's what it's going to take. Kamala, she understands the need for innovation. She understands why we're going to want to keep something like this in our country to continue to be leaders in this space. So I'm hopeful, and I'm glad that everybody is putting time and effort into generating this momentum, because I think it's going to make a big difference, and she's going to be
And let me just add, I really like what you said there, because politics is about coalitions, and you want to make a difference, be part of Kamala's coalition, right? And that's why that call was great. Like, crypto for Kamala is awesome. Like, let's show that the innovation community, the crypto community, is an important part for coalition. And I'm happy to do that. And I know a lot of people on this call are, but let's get out those tweets and kind of show how we can make a difference.
Yeah. I guess another question I'd have for you, Governor, is we've seen RFK Jr. come out like wholeheartedly for crypto, and then you saw Trump follow. Do you think that Democrats are shying away from it for any one particular reason? I assume it's probably the regulatory standing that they have, the regulations that they want, and they're a little bit hesitant to come out. I think Republicans are probably more keen to embrace crypto, both for the financial gain, for they're getting donors and they're getting a lot of money from the crypto industry, but they're also less regulation, I guess, keen on regulation. Do you think that Democrats will understand or kind of figure out a way that they can both embrace it for innovation while also alleviating concerns that many Democrats have that under regulation could lead to all sorts of other issues?
Yeah, look, and as you said, I don't think Donald Trump gets it. I don't think he knows a lot about it. And you're right, he's not like a policy leader in this area. In fact, his administration, as we talked about in this call, was not pro crypto last time around, right? It was absolutely not. And so I think we have an opportunity for this kind of reset here with the Democrats. And, it's like any issue. Let me just say that crypto is not a partisan issue. You're going to find Republicans who are hardcore anti crypto. Sadly, yes, there probably are a few Democrats that are too. But in general, I think Democrats are the party of innovation, the party of disruption. And I, for one, have never had any negativity around my pro crypto, pro market viewpoints. And it's something I'm going to continue to do. And lots of Democrats are doing. So, these are broad tenets, both parties. And I think it's good to support pro crypto people on both sides. But obviously, particularly, I think Kamala Harris can be a great president for innovation.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Dennis.
real quick, Governor Polis, I want to ask you a question in just a moment here, but really quickly wanted to say thank you to Ian. He really has been a leader over there in California. Years ago, he brought me out to a roundtable with the Attorney General. He did that way before it was popular, so big props to him and the work that he's done. Governor Polis, you've been a huge advocate for this space. Me at Satoshi Action, a big part of our work is activating the states and using them as a laboratory of democracy to be able to generate innovative policy solutions. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on how the states are going to play a role here and the importance of state activism in putting good crypto and Bitcoin policy forward.
Yeah. So look, I'd love if we could do more. The primary, regulator is federal. So we're always like somewhat limited in what we can do. But like in Colorado, we actually became the first state to accept crypto for all state payments. So that was very easy to do. We don't hold crypto; we convert it in real time because we don't want to take the currency risk associated with for our taxpayers. But you can pay for your driver's license, you can pay your state income taxes, you can pay your park pass, you can do all those with crypto. And we also are very excited about applications in Department of Ag, for instance, like for instance, even the way we register brands for like cattle, anything that involves a ledger, we can do through distributed ledger. I think it has great implications for healthcare because again, you look at something where people don't trust the government, they don't trust big corporations with personal data. As I like to say, sometimes what people don't like about Republicans is to say, "Oh, just trust big companies, trust the corporate America." Democrats sometimes say, and I don't think it always works, trust government. Most people don't trust either, and so blockchain allows an elegant solution where people can control their own information and assets, and that's something that's I think very attractive to most Democrats.
So we saw RFK come out with this plan to create a Bitcoin strategic reserve. It was a huge amount of Bitcoin he wanted the U.S. to buy over a course of several, I think it was a couple decades, if I'm not mistaken. And then Trump kind of came out with the same idea. It wasn't really the same idea. He said Bitcoin reserve, but it seemed like it was only Bitcoin that the U.S. government would confiscate, or that the government has confiscated and has in its holdings. Do you think that's something that the Democrats should support? Is some kind of Bitcoin
Well,
reserve
look,
or holding
I
Bitcoin?
honestly think that that's a little bit of pandering, right? Like, obviously, people who are long on Bitcoin are going to be thrilled if the government might come in as a buyer. I mean, you gotta more look at, does it make sense? I mean, what do we have? We have a gold reserve, we have an oil reserve. I'm totally open to the question of should we have some kind of crypto reserve, but like, I don't think it's something that you just sort of say as a talking point that to get votes from people that are like, oh, good, the government's going to buy crypto, it's going to go up in value. I'm open to it. I'm not convinced. Again, I'm not even convinced we need as large an oil reserve as we have. Although President Biden actually was a pretty clever oil trader, he probably could have made a lot of money if he had been an oil trader. He bought when oil was low, and he sold our national reserve when oil was high. He did exactly what a trader is supposed to do, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, it's possible. I don't want to rule it out, but I don't think that RFK or even Trump have any solid intellectual underpinning for it. They're just saying it because they think it sounds cool, and they think it'll pander for votes. I mean, pandering for votes is not an ideological thing. People on both sides of the aisle do it. I don't want to detract from it, but I mean, I honestly think that's what's going on there.
Yeah. So
Governor,
we've seen. Go ahead, Dennis. I'll
no,
go
just
after.
yeah, just a quick one, real quick. A lot of Bitcoiners and folks that own digital assets really believe in the importance of maintaining accessibility to the technology and really being able to truly use Bitcoin as a technology, which involves, the ability to self custody, the ability to run a node. Do you believe in the importance of protecting these rights, as what we call them, Bitcoin rights in the space, or digital asset rights, access to the technology? I think key of them all would probably be self custody. But curious your thoughts on making sure that Americans have access to the technology.
Absolutely. Access to technology. They need to make sure. I mean, first of all, we want to make sure that we're a good place for mining, for storage, a safe place. We want to make sure that people have confidence that they can park their Bitcoin here. Fair treatment under tax law, like any other currency or vehicle. Obviously, the discussion in the sector is, do we treat it more like a commodity or a currency? But we need to be competitive with the world. I think you mentioned this as well. We want America to be the center of the crypto economy. So let's start with that and then work backward. What policies do we need to be the center? And the answer is, and again, while you might consider it an ugly word, there needs to be some what you might call regulation. There needs to be some way that people know what they're getting here. You don't. Nobody's going to want to invest in the Bitcoin economy in a place that has anarchy and that doesn't have a structure that allows for any confidence that you're actually getting what you paid for. So yeah, let's start from that point. How do we make sure America is and remains the leader in Bitcoin technology? And you kind of go from there, and you say, what policies do we need to be able to achieve that?
That sounds great. Sorry to butt in. I just had a quick question for you, Governor Polis. Thanks for joining. A lot of us in the crypto industry here, Democrats and Republicans alike, say they're pro crypto, but they only want to go after the bad guys in the industry. But where that argument starts to fall apart in a lot of our minds is the treatment of Ross Ulbricht. He received a sentence that most of us feel was quite unfair. It was
Totally.
higher than what the prosecution requested in that instance. So I'm wondering if you'll be advising Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to support commuting his sentence or giving him a full pardon, and what you think of that situation as a whole.
Yeah. So first of all, I was obviously curious about it. Curious about it. I even downloaded. Oh, what was that weird browser you had to download? That secure one to get to that site. Do you guys
Tor.
remember? Well, Tor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of nerdy. And I like that stuff, but like I didn't use Tor regularly. I used normal browsers. But yeah, I got Tor. I wanted to check it out and see what was going on. I honestly haven't been following exactly what the charges was, what he did to follow the law. But generally, with the internet, you do need to have kind of if you're a platform and you yourself are not the one selling illegal content, you should not generally be responsible as a matter of course. And that's like a common carrier exception, we call it. And I just don't know enough about the specific situation to know how it should have applied to him and what he did. But generally speaking, if you develop a platform, you can't be responsible for if people are using that platform in an illegal way. And obviously, there was plenty of totally legitimate commerce that was also occurring on there.
So we hear could a lot of people suggest I guess I think people on the right and left have suggested that Bitcoin could become a threat to the US dollar, and that currently the US dollar is basically the world's reserve currency, and they worry that Bitcoin could overtake the dollar as a world reserve currency and in turn hurt the US. I think Trump even mentioned this back in the days when he called Bitcoin a scam. He essentially said, it's a threat to the US dollar. And people on the left, politicians on the left, have also suggested that in the past. Do you see it as a threat to the US dollar in that it could become a world currency? Do you believe it could become the world's reserve currency?
So first of all, this is something about Trump. I think we kind of get who he is and his character at this point. He did call it a scam, and until he realized it was a scam that could work for him, and he started selling his own MFTs. He liked scams if they worked for him, right? He just didn't want it to be somebody else's scam. Not saying his own NFTs were a scam. He obviously there's people who want to pay for that. I can call it crap. I mean, I don't want a picture of Trump NFT. Not my cup of tea, but like, hey, it's a market out there. If people want to pay for it, it's fine. It is what it is. He obviously is dodgy in how he markets things, and I'm not even talking crypto. It's Trump, whatever. He's always been kind of a dodgy kind of business guy. But getting to kind of that macroeconomic piece. First of all, I'm not an economist. Like I can't really qualify to talk about what this means. But I say if there is some disruption that moves away from fiat currencies and government-controlled currencies to international standards of currency, that's not all a bad thing, right? There's an optimistic side to that. Whether it's going to happen or not, I'm not saying like I think this is going to happen. I actually, if anything, probably think it won't. But like if it happens, that is interesting. I don't think it's unqualified good or bad for America. It's different for America. There's pluses and negatives for America being a global reserve currency. Obviously, America can have spells where they have bad monetary policy, like any nation. Monetary policy is affected by politics. You look at how many countries have suffered from bad monetary policy at times. Somebody like Trump could get in there, and if he's president and he wants to ensure either his reelection or the reelection of his successor he likes, they could try to pump money supply through the economy using that control over monetary policy. Of course, inflationary could cause recession, but that can also, benefit someone's reelection. So I kind of like getting out of the hand of government in the long run. Whether it's workable or not, don't know, right? Like, don't know. But it's an interesting concept and one that I hope serious economists explore.
I want to ask Empress to speak and ask a question, and then I want to get to Clay and Will, who actually were the organizers behind the Crypto for Harris event that took place at 8 p.m. until 9:30. So, Empress, go ahead.
Appreciate it. Yeah, deep in the trenches of crypto Twitter. And no offense, seems a little oversimplified up here with the Bitcoin maxis. Crypto's a powerhouse outside of just Bitcoin, and it's greatly aligned with the right. It's not just a bunch of dweebs. There's a lot of MAGA that is pretty pervasive. One of the few leftists over here screaming and yelling. This Crypto for Kamala campaign, while cute, not to sound condescending, if we can't get her on board in a tangible way that she's willing to come out of, it proves more problematic than just losing a tiny faction of people. As for global currency, we're looking at things like Ton, which is now on the Telegram chain and is moving in towards a more tangible thing. There's a lot of ways that it needs to be done. And I think that overlooking the fact that 2 days before the ETFs and the Coinbase legislation came through is when Trump accepted donations for crypto. We know deep pockets get in bed with each other. So there's certain realities that need to be faced with how prevalent crypto is and where that vote can be swayed. So sooner than later, if anybody has Kamala's ear, it would be really ideal if we could get more than a bunch of people saying that they might have sway or that they could kind of swing the Democrats in a whole bunch of these false possible things and maybe get her to do something to indicate that she is in any way going to be helpful with policies as they pertain to crypto.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if we can get her to install a, crypto wallet on her iPhone or something. It'd be
That'd be
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
Anything, anything.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a good segue to Clay and Will, who hosted this amazing event earlier. Had a laundry list of politicians, business leaders. It was great. I think we learned a lot. And I think as a Democrat myself, I left there feeling more optimistic about their approach towards crypto, especially if Harris wins in November. So, Will and Clay, whoever wants to start, feel free to just tell us a little bit about how you decided to organize this and why.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brian and Ed, for hosting us and for everyone else for being here. And for some of our speakers who are here as well. Governor Polis, you were amazing on the stream. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, the Will and I and the other organizers hung on the chat for a few minutes after, and we're extremely happy with how it went. We're super fired up. Feedback in all our group chats have been amazing. Press is rolling in, trying to get interviews. We think we knocked it out of the park, and most specifically, we accomplished our two goals. Really, we wanted to spotlight a diverse range of opinions in the industry, and we wanted to offer up this reset opportunity. And I think we accomplished both of those, and throughout the entirety of it, remained optimistic and hopeful. You asked why we decided to do it. I mean, I personally, while I am an industry veteran, been working in digital assets for over 8 years, I started my career in politics. I was an intern on the Hill before becoming a Senate staffer, then worked on a couple presidential campaigns, and in one way, shape, or form have been involved in every election cycle since I was almost like 13, 14 years old, and was going to do something this cycle. And the idea struck me when 3 weeks ago I was in Wilmington, Delaware, visiting my best friends who were then on the Biden campaign. And that was the week in between the debate and the assassination attempt on Mr. Trump, when we were unclear whether Biden was going to stay in the race. And as soon as he dropped, I started seeing reports online that the Kamala campaign was looking for information on crypto. This was also right after Trump made his Bitcoin Nashville speech, where he came out overtly pro crypto. So I think people were trying to, figure out the issue, figuring out talking points. And I saw a window here, and a lot of other people saw windows too. I think a lot of people were reaching out, trying to get a sense of who was doing what, and very organically, a group chat of more than 90 industry leaders came together. And Will, myself, Jonathan, Amanda, and a couple others rallied them around this town hall as kind of our kickoff event. And you heard from the other organizers all the different things that we have kind of in the pipeline here in terms of policy and in terms of fundraising, in terms of actual direct voter contact initiatives that we want to do. And as I said in the closing, I think we're just getting started here, right? Like I'm hopeful that this is going to increase the momentum. I hope it's going to raise awareness to this effort. And I'm committed one way or another to being part of this election cycle. And I'm excited for the first time to be able to mobilize and do it through my community in the crypto industry. How about you, Will?
G's just the best. I'm just going to lead with that. It was really cool when this came together, and acknowledging Governor Paulus, you're here on this chat. Thanks for staying on. This is important engagement, which is kind of the highlight of my point here. Is like, when the Kamala team became a thing, right? I looked at G and I was like, what are we gonna do? We got to do this. There's something to do here, and I think obviously we were put in the spot by the collective that came together. Like, we raised our hands and everybody coalesced, and we got into the work. And I think one of the benefits, maybe, I hope that maybe it's an undercurrent that folks don't necessarily know or see yet, but and this is maybe a little of my personal bend, but we're out here building political capacity, and very intentionally within the progressive side of the crypto space. And someone like G, myself, who's also been on too many campaigns to count, as staffers or as principals, and just have these experiences and understanding of how policy really gets done, how politics really play out, and really then also what's it take to get something like we just did tonight together, right? Like, it takes a village first and foremost, and it takes real top-notch chops and essentially and grit to be able to get through the finish line on a big event with lots of VIPs and all this, and to talk about an important issue with so many folks. So I'm just excited. I mean, I'm excited for so many reasons, but Senator Schumer just laying out an agenda is amazing. This is news. Like, this is really big. So we're so excited about obviously the breakthrough that I think it just happened there, but I'm excited because we've got people activated, right? And to G's point, there's many other places and spaces that will be popping up over the next couple days, right? 80 days or whatever is left. But we're out there. We're going to be, organizing across the country, try to do maybe smaller or maybe a bigger space like this again as we get to the end. We are, to put a point of this has worked. We know that the Harris camp had some folks on the call today with us. So this message was well received. And I think, we putting this together over the last 10 days or not even, we've been seeing the press and we've been seeing the things that are coming out, and kudos to, G and the others who, have been hustling in the background to get this off the ground, to just stay focused and to just know that, this is about taking the step forward, showcasing the big tent, rallying those in the industry and those politically who have already put themselves out there and already identified that this is an issue they care about. And, can't reiterate again, how crucial it is that Senator Schumer has come on to the team on this effort. This is massive. So we are right there. We're engaging on the political front. This is not a one and done by any means. There's going to be more that we're going to do. There's going to be stuff that we're going to continue to announce, probably through the Crypto for Harris Twitter account. We don't have an organization. We're not there's no PAC. There's no thing that really, put this together other than I led with, G, myself, just kind of looking at each other when this all kind of came around, and enough people just got with it. And we're like, let's do this. Let's go for it. So it was amazing. It was an amazing opportunity. super excited. I know I'm smoked from this like adrenaline packed day. Would love to maybe take like one question from you, Brian or Ed, Dennis, who I've talked to, Trey, I see you there, Atticus, I see you there. Those are all great people. You should obviously platform and get them up to make the progressive voice known on this issue too. But yeah, this was a great day.
Yeah, Dennis, go ahead. I saw you raise your hand first, I think.
Yeah, real quickly, just wanted to say that, you guys doing this in an emergent way, in a grassroots way, bottom up is, really I think at the ethos of within alignment with the ethos of Bitcoin and digital assets. And so, really awesome to see the work that you've done in such a short period of time. And I can't remember who it was on the call. It might have been one of the members of the Senate who said, that they were really excited with how quickly this came together and how successful it was, and that you guys just worked overtime to make this a possibility. And so, really excited about just what you've done and the people that you've brought together. Bitcoin ultimately is a technology that brings everyone together. I think it's a unity technology. And to say it, and how Anthony Scaramucci was about to say it, he tried to join the Spaces. By the way, he was texting me, and he said he can't join. His joke was he was trying to log into the no taxes on tips Spaces, and he says that to say that the no taxes on tips was a good idea. We should all support it. And same with Bitcoin, digital assets. It's a good idea, and we should all support it. And I think that the work that you're doing is ensuring that both sides can be a part of this movement and not just make it a one-sided effort in November. So thank you again for what you're doing. I just really wanted to give a big props to you and your team on putting all this together. It's not easy to put those types of events together. It's a ton of work, and nobody ever appreciates you enough. So hopefully we can do that for you here in the Spaces and more and more and more again as time goes on.
Thanks so much, Dennis. And we know of your work that you've been doing across the country. So this is, folks on this call, you're the perfect people to, ping us one-on-one, send us a message. We're real people. We're here. We are wanting to grow this. We know you guys are in the work doing it. So yeah, we're stoked. And there's a lot more to cover, right? Like this is a great night. There's a lot of progress I think that was made politically tonight, and I'm excited because this will transform into opportunities for folks on this call to get in front of more folks, right? Like you can always back it up now and be like, hey, Senator Schumer said this bill is going to get passed by the end of the year, right? Take that to state houses, take that to attorney generals, take that to different places across the country and say like crypto matters, right? This is an issue, and it's not a one-sided, argument. It's not a red team, blue team thing. This is so much more diverse than that. The impact of the future of digital assets globally is so significant. I'm sure all of us, who are here are pretty deep in the space and the industry, know many people who are builders, who are founders, who are entrepreneurs, investors, and have been in it, for multiple ups and downs, bulls and winters. So, this will just keep going. So thanks so much for giving us the opportunity. We're stoked. I don't know, G, do you want to say anything else before I'm going to dip out because my wife is kicking me out?
Hey, I just have a quick question. I know you said members of the Kamala Harris campaign were listening in on the call. Have you actually had contact with them, and how far have you gone as far as finding out, like, okay, is Kamala going to, announce something before the election about crypto, or at least like say something about crypto before the election?
We have done our best to reach out to folks, and we have gotten responses. So, to the extent that they obviously knew about tonight, and we knew that folks were present on the call, and we're continuing. I don't want to get ahead of anything that is hopefully coming still, but we are working on those lines. And I would just kind of point to, actually, I think something Senator Gillibrand said. If you didn't quite get her. Like she made a soft comment kind of in the middle of her speech there, but I heard it echoed by Representative Wiley and a couple other folks who are also engaging with probably the vice president's team in an official capacity, but maybe the campaign side too, where if you listen to what a lot of the speakers were saying tonight, they were very confident, and there was a lot of reassurance that this issue was going to be addressed by the Harris camp, and that we can expect also that we can expect positive reset, we'll say. Like a reset, I think tonight can be, despite what the Biden admin continues to do, right? We're focusing on the Harris administration and thinking about what can be going forward. So there's the real world FUD of like what's happening right now, which we get. And then there's like what we're working for a progressive, push forward under a potential Harris administration. So get out, organize, and vote, and get Harris into the presidency. And we feel really good, that this is gonna turn our way. So I got to dip though. I really appreciate it. I don't know, G, if you want to stay on, but I got to go. Thank you, Brian, for having us. Please, give Trey some time, give Dennis more time. So you guys are crushing it. And Atticus, I see you in there. Good man too. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, everybody be sure to follow the number 4 Harris on X. That's the organization that Will and Clay are partaking in. And I'm sure you guys are going to have more calls in the future and more activities going on as well.
Hey, really quick, this is Jonathan Padilla. I just want to answer the question that was just raised. First off, like G and Will are amazing. They really did just some phenomenal work, as everybody saw. And so I want to just take it head on and say, we have spoken at this point to finance and business outreach, and we're starting early conversations with policy. Those conversations have been very fruitful, and like the goal for tonight is really a kickoff opportunity to show the Harris campaign that we're serious. We have a large contingency and group, but I think over the next 10 to 15 days, you're going to see a lot of movement, and our goal is to be as aggressive and quick as possible to really make tonight a starting point for that reset. And that's not just words. We're looking at some tangible actions over the course of the next, I'd say, 2 to 3 weeks.
Awesome. I do want to get to some hands. I know Trey and Atticus had their hands raised for a while. Let's get you Trey first and then Atticus. I can't hear you, Trey. I don't know if it's just me.
I can't either.
Can't hear them either, Brian.
Yeah, Trey, maybe you could drop down and I'll bring you right back up. Sorry about that. Let's go to Atticus.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it was an excellent event, and I think we all know that. And I know that there's been, of course, talk of, okay, well, where does the next steps? Where do they happen? What are we going to do? And I think it's really, as Jonathan said, a lot of it is on us to push this. And I think the reception has been very open, and not even that, it's been much more supportive than some may think, both internally and just outside. But to echo what the governor was saying, it does help to remind people the Trump administration was not pro-crypto. This is a very recent thing. Now, I know everybody probably knows that, but then there's the question of why is Donald Trump doing this? Now, of course, the governor did talk about that. It's, well, Donald Trump does whatever makes him feel good at the time and place where he exists. And that's about the extent of his thought process on these things. There really isn't a lot of substance there. I mean, we all know that he has no idea what Bitcoin is. I mean, frankly, he probably doesn't even know what the internet is, just to be frank. So the notion that he is going to guide us into a future with crypto, or with how we're going to regulate this and how we're going to develop the frameworks around this is, I think also, as when there's, again, a lot of the FUD that Will is talking about, I don't think that's a serious position for somebody to take either. I think it's going to be you'd be quite hard pressed to find something like that. And really, when you look at it, the Democratic Party, it seems like, is very inconsistent on this issue. I don't think it's out of some evil desire to want to destroy everything and everything like that. I think we all know that. A lot of it is just, well, it's ignorance. A lot of these people are focused on specific issues that got them there. It's on us to educate them. And frankly, we are doing a better job now, especially with the events that we're doing now. But we were kind of a little slow at going to it. Nice enough, Trump got, I'm sure, a few people to, compliment him and make him feel like he was the most important person in the world. And of course, that's how everybody gets to Donald Trump. That's how everybody gets him to do what they want him to do. He has nothing to do. He'll go after China one day, and then the next day he'll say, when somebody compliments something about him, he'll change his mind and do a complete 180. So trying to say that, well, the Republicans are making serious inroads on this. Now, some of them have been vocal. I would argue that as a party that is completely captured by one person, it's not a diverse coalition of ideas and everything. It is a complete dominance of one person. And that person can turn on you in an instant. So strategically, it's, I do kind of say, it is very challenging for me to seriously say that, or to even think or hope that the Republican Party will do an active job or do really anything realistic to tackle crypto as well. But on the Democratic side, I think it fits with the general premise that the Democrats have stood for a long time. It makes sense for them, whether it's ideologically as a progressive or anything around there, to support this. Again, I'm saying things that we all know, but it does help to provide some context as to what Donald Trump is. And it's not that he has now seen the light of day on crypto. That's also just a crazy position. That's as crazy as saying that that Gary Gensler, is the best friend, is the best friend of Bitcoin or Ethereum. I mean, it's delusional. It's not a realistic position. I don't think it's anything that people can rely on. So, I mean, that is one thing that the governor was very clear on that and very good with it. But there is a pushback, and also, I mean, of course, personally, there's the process or the thought that, I mean, I would like to live in a world where I can enjoy crypto, and that's more of a personal thing. Me personally speaking, but I would like to live in a world where I can actually enjoy the fruits of the labor, as opposed to, I don't know, living in some kind of vacuum where it doesn't matter. But anyway, yeah, again, it's the partisan thing. I wouldn't confuse debate with complete animosity towards crypto. I mean, Democrats like to debate a lot more. Generally speaking, we tend to be a party that is, I mean, we're a much larger tent. The number of coalitions we have to unify in order to win an election is enormous. I mean, just thinking about that. Ideological differences, diversity of any type, whatever any definition. And that's a strength when it comes to, of course, how a society should look. But it can also make it more challenging for us to win elections. And it makes it more challenging for us to build consensus on anything. We have Joe Manchin in our party. We have Elizabeth Warren in our party. We have Joe Biden in the party. We have, take your pick. And that's part of what usually makes the Democratic Party a little bit slower to just completely unify on a specific issue. And I wouldn't confuse that debate or the nuance that goes into it as something where the Democratic Party is this laser-focused, coordinated effort against crypto. The Democratic Party couldn't pull that off, I hate to say it, even if they tried. It's just too big of a tent. It's too diverse. It's not unified in the same way that the Republicans are very skilled at coalescing around a specific issue and just marching forward. And we're seeing that now. So it means that A, yes, we have some work to do, but B, it means that we have the opportunity, and we shouldn't look at this and say, oh, this is just the Democratic Party bad, Republicans good on this issue, therefore I should vote one way or another. I think that context can always be helpful, at least when I look at a lot of issues and kind of scratch my head and say, why are the Democrats acting like this? I do remember that this is the process that the party goes through on a lot of issues. And that's why we've made a lot of progress on other issues. I mean, look at different kinds of, social justice issues, non-discrimination issues, all kinds of things like that. The Democratic Party was aggressive on it, and the Democratic Party took risks in elections because of it. Crypto, I think they need to see it as that kind of an issue, and they will come around. I'm convinced of that. But anyway, again, super excited about all this momentum. We haven't seen this in a long time.
I think super, really well spoken comments on just the process that it takes. I've been a big proponent of talking about sort of why we are where we are. with regards to the support of the various parties on on digital assets on Bitcoin. It's very obvious when Bitcoin launched, when the cypherpunks got together and launched Bitcoin. The first people that heard about it and talked about it was the Libertarian Party. Second from there was the Libertarians talking to the Republicans, but there really hasn't been anybody sort of openly talking to Democrats, at least not in the early stages. I think that's changed quite rapidly in the last 2 to 3 years. But I do believe that also Democrats are a little bit slower and more thoughtful about the way they approach Bitcoin from a policy perspective. And also as the party in power, it is very difficult at times to just make massive shifts. So definitely I agree with you on just the approach by the Democrat Party on this issue. Not always true with every issue, but specifically I think this issue, especially because it's just so new and so nascent. But a lot of people really get mixed up. They think like, oh well, Bitcoin as a technology is more in alignment with the right, and I could not disagree with that more. There are so many issues that progressives and that liberals and that Democrats care about that are in alignment with Bitcoin. I think, one of the most obvious ones is that Bitcoin is a money that you just simply cannot discriminate with. It doesn't matter your age, sex, sexual orientation, gender, gender expression, religion, political affiliation. Bitcoin doesn't recognize or acknowledge these things. And so anybody can join the network. It's the most inclusive monetary network on the planet. If you say that is that's more in alignment with Democrats than I would say with Republicans, although I think Republicans do care about those issues as well. Bitcoin as a technology is incredible for serving the underprivileged, the disadvantaged, and for banking the unbanked. In fact, when I first found Bitcoin in 2017, that was one of the major reasons why I was so supportive of it. Now, I've gone on to love so many other things about the technology, but it was just that idea that people that have no access, people that are left behind, someone who doesn't have an ID, doesn't have documentation, maybe someone that's not of age, uh, maybe someone that has bad credit, maybe someone that needs a second chance, they can use Bitcoin as a second chance and as a way to continue to access financial technologies that, well, simply that no one can get in the way of them being able to access them. I think additionally, like really, really important is going to be this conversation around Bitcoin mining. Democrats have been fighting, and progressives, those environmentalists that are on the left, have been fighting for the energy transition for a very long time. And Bitcoin mining actually makes the energy transition more realistic because the problems that are inherent in clean energy, particularly wind and solar, the fact that they're intermittent energy assets, those problems, I wouldn't say they get eliminated by Bitcoin mining, but they are greatly improved by Bitcoin mining's ability to be location agnostic. You can put it anywhere in the world. You can co-locate it right next to a wind farm and utilize underutilized or wasted energy that is coming from those wind and solar plants. So there's just so many things that I think people really ignore or don't want to listen to with regards to Bitcoin being in alignment with Democrats. There's ways that it's in alignment with Republicans too, but I really am getting sort of frustrated because for so long, so many of us are saying, Bitcoin is bipartisan, it's for both sides. And then you start to see, I put out a tweet about this. You start to see one side become pro Bitcoin, and then they say, well, now it's just for Republicans. Like, we don't want to see Democrats pivot on the issue. We don't want to see Harris pivot on the issue. And so I have been fighting for bipartisan Bitcoin from the very, very beginning because I saw that it was important that we maintain that status. So just Atticus, thank you again for the comments. I think that was really important to lay out. You said it more eloquently than me, but you laid out a case for kind of why we are where we are, and also a case for why that's going to be changing moving forward.
I appreciate that, and I'm gonna, I guess, interrupt for a second to double on something that caught my or that caught my mind on that. And yeah, actually, I think you're seeing Democrats. At least I know, oddly enough, the Governor Pritzker in Illinois, who is looking at Bitcoin as a method of accelerating the energy transition, which I think would be an amazing example to be set for other groups, other states, other policies, and everything like that. But again, sometimes the simple comparing and contrasting does help. If we're looking at energy transition, we can't forget that the party that right now is viewed as pro crypto and has taken a more aggressive stance on it thus far. I mean, the chair of the energy, they put people who are the chair of the energy committee who say that, if we embrace too many wind farms, it will slow down the wind. So again, we can't confuse posturing with policy. And I think that's the challenge that the Republicans are going to run into. And if Of course, we hope that they do not end up with another administration. But if they do, we have to A, assume that they are not going to be anti-crypto like they were last time. B, that Trump's going to keep his word, which, okay. And C, that it's not the same pattern as before, which I think it's, again, repeating these kinds of things does help. The reason that Trump, when he goes abroad, and you see all of these elaborate and insane displays of, like these opulent things whenever he's going, you can see the memos that a lot of these foreign, other governments and everything are using to entertain him. And it's, you make him happy, we make him feel important. He does what you want. He's one of the most easily manipulated people on the planet. And there's a proximity bias there. So again, my thing is, the fact that Trump is pro-crypto now, I don't believe it. I really don't. I mean, it might serve him in some case, but I mean, if his NFTs, tank and they go, and the value of those sink, he's probably going to retaliate and do something really stupid, and everybody's going to be, sitting there going, well, oh my gosh, we didn't realize that he could, we thought he was going to be pro-crypto. Like, well, yeah, and anything else that Trump has changed his mind on for convenience? It's not a real policy position. I think having a robust debate and moving the Democratic Party in the right direction. The thing is, once the Democratic Party has reached that consensus, we will know, and we will actually have achieved something as a group, which will be much more powerful than getting Trump to say something, which frankly, you just dangle a few bucks or something and you can probably get him to do whatever you want, which is quite frightening. But anyway, not to interrupt again.
Yeah, like a lot of people are probably thinking, oh, is Kamala Harris really going to be pro Bitcoin? But I think the strongest signal of that is Chuck Schumer coming out today advocating for the U.S. to move in a direction that's more in the direction to make crypto more innovative in the United States, because that he's not going to be advocating for that unless he knows that Harris will also be advocating for that. But otherwise, it sets them both up for failure. Yeah, and with that, I think I want to get to Trey again. Let's try your headphones again.
Yeah, let's try it out. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep,
Great.
you're good.
Okay. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks Brian, Ed, for having me up here, and Dennis, good to see you as always, my friend, on stage here. So really quick, I'll keep this brief too. One of the things that we do, and a little background on me, my name is Trey Walsh. I've spent a decade in nonprofits. That's kind of my day job, is doing nonprofit work, anti-poverty work, workforce development, worked with youth, all of these different things. And I came into Bitcoin and mainly saw a lot of the human rights use cases. I saw a lot of the things that Dennis was echoing as well. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like, I don't have to try to rely on Wall Street and all of these other things that I was necessarily against as a progressive, as someone really inspired by the Occupy movement and involved with that, right? And I'm also a constituent of Elizabeth Warren's in Massachusetts and very involved in Massachusetts politics. So it's a very interesting place to be in, I will say. But the one thing we do through the Progressive Bitcoiner, it's mainly a podcast, a weekly podcast where we talk about many different things in Bitcoin. One of the reasons I got more involved with the space was because I did see a bit of an echo chamber that some people feel, I think particularly in Bitcoin, right? And it's none more amplified than the person we've been mentioning, Donald Trump, obviously with the Bitcoin conference and things like that. So one of our biggest messages is that Bitcoin is for everyone. We try to really, really show people, especially progressives and Democrats, that Bitcoin is for everyone. You don't have to be a Trump supporter. You don't have to be any political party. You don't have to be anything to be into Bitcoin or see the use cases of this. And I think a lot of us feel that way on this call today, obviously. So one thing that I hope, as many have echoed, that we can just get past this, that being against Bitcoin and crypto is as silly as being against the internet and electricity. It'll be something that we laugh at and think, how are we against that? That's just the next evolution of things, right? And that's one thing we really try to do. And we really try to appeal to people, the voters that listen to our show, that interact with us, right? So hoping that they then influence politicians and elected officials, right? Obviously, we didn't come into Bitcoin thinking we need politician XYZ to approve of this or else, right? I talk to my progressive friends all the time, like Bitcoin is resistance money. It's meant to resist. It's meant to be anti-fragile. It's permissionless, censorship resistance. It's used in authoritarian regimes around the world, all of these things, right? It's meant for if Donald Trump comes to power and your worst fears come true, right? And we hope that doesn't happen. And it's seeming more and more likely that Harris will become president, which is very good, and that we all I would like to see on this call. So really, I'm hoping that Bitcoin and crypto becomes just a nonpartisan issue, that it doesn't become a Democrat issue or a Republican issue. And that's something we really try to fight against. And a lot of the things that I like to focus on and that I'd really like to see Democrats, Harris campaign, Chuck Schumer, many others talk about is the benefits of Bitcoin and crypto for the individual. So focusing on those individual rights. Dennis was touching on this as well. Focusing on reaffirming that you have the right to self-custody your crypto, right? That you can hold this in your possession just like cash in your wallet. That's really, really important because I think some of our listeners feel a bit disconnected if they only hear Democrats and politicians talking about an industry bill or all of this kind of these different things. And they're like, yeah, what about my ability to use Bitcoin and crypto? What about all of these things what we really like, which is self-custody? You don't have to rely on Coinbase or a bank to hold and custody your Bitcoin. So I'm really focused on a lot of the individual rights, the human rights that I'd like to see Democrats in the Harris campaign be able to articulate. I think some of the things that Dennis talked about as well with Bitcoin mining, we cover a lot of that with folks because we have a lot of progressives that come in and say, wait, I thought Bitcoin is really bad for the environment. I have a lot of climate activist friends and things like that need to understand it's a bit more complicated than that. You need to go deeper on some of these things and what Dennis was talking about with energy transitions and building out renewables and harnessing renewable and wasted energy and how it's actually electrifying projects in Africa and beyond. Like all of those great stories we talk about because we know that's the future. I think many of us on this call know that's the future, but it's about telling people about that, right? So how do we move to where the Democratic Party isn't going to be hostile against Bitcoin mining, isn't going to be hostile against different overreach of KYC or AML laws in terms of self-custody and say for terrorism, right? That a lot of us are haunted by with the Patriot Act. A lot of us remember those things. And I think a lot of us are a bit nervous that it could go in that direction. But I just want to echo and say I'm feeling very optimistic, I think, with this change. I think a lot of us felt a sense of optimism when Biden decided to drop out of the race. And it was seen that Kamala Harris would be kind of the presumptive nominee and going forward. I think a lot of us got optimistic, at least I did, more so than I thought I would, thinking, oh, wow, we have a younger leader. We have more Democrats speaking up who actually are like, okay, we might go in a better direction with all of these things. So really that is our bread and butter, is talking about the individual freedoms, communities, people. We heard financial inclusion so much on the call tonight, on the town hall, which is incredible. That's what we really like to see because that's the name of the game, is financial inclusion, really the bread and butter for progressives and Democrats. So just wanted to say that. Appreciate you guys allowing me to speak and say that, and keep up the good work. And we're excited to be a part of this and help in any way we can, and help out Will and the other organizers that I've had the privilege to speak with and work with. And we're going to be planning some more stuff coming up that's Bitcoin focused, because again, Bitcoin has this image more than ever of alignment with Trump, and we are here to say that is not the case, right? Like Bitcoin is for everyone, like specifically Bitcoin. So we're here to really combat that narrative and show that it's for everyone. So thanks. I'll we got a lot of other great speakers here, so appreciate it.
No, yeah, thanks so much. And I just want to kind of go along with what you're saying. I think there is opportunity for change under Harris. A lot of people, especially those on the right, are saying, Harris is just going to be an extension of the Biden administration. If she really wanted to get something done, she would have already done it, or she would be doing it right now. And that can't be farther from the truth. That would be like saying the Trump administration was run by Mike Pence and he was actually controlling the administration. Just because she's the vice president doesn't mean that she's setting the policy initiatives. She works for Joe Biden, and he's the one who makes the policies, and she kind of follows along until she gets the opportunity to maybe one day be president herself, hopefully be president herself, starting in 2025. So you can't expect her to just continue Biden's policies. And I think anybody with realistic expectations don't believe that's what's going to happen. Yeah, so let's get you, Nathan. I know you had your hand raised for a while. Hey, Brian, I think Nico had his hand raised. I think we should go to him. Oh, yeah, you're right. Let's go to Nico and then Nathan. Sorry, Nathan.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Ed. Dennis, good to see you. Trey, good to see you like always. Yeah, look, I completely agree with you guys 100%. Trey's heard me say this all the time. I think Bitcoin is the most equitable money the world has ever seen. I think it protects the lower middle classes the most from the ravages of inflation. And I do believe that fundamentally, this should not be a partisan issue whatsoever, because I think it helps people on every side of the aisle, no matter what your ideological beliefs are. My only concern is not so much, and just to can give you a little bit of background. So I'm the founder and host of Simply Bitcoin. We're currently one of the most popular daily Bitcoin only live shows, and I have to cover the news essentially Monday through Friday, years on end. And essentially what I've seen, and I'll pin it up in the nest, and I think this will offer good discussion. Like what I would love to see from Kamala specifically is, and to take away momentum away from Trump, to be honest, like one of the first things that she can do is to promise to free Ross. Like that is something that obviously, feels like a Bitcoiners feel very passionate about. That's something that, her campaign could go out ahead and say that, and that would completely take away the momentum out of RFK's campaign and Trump's campaign, and that's definitely something that she can do now. And in regards to a lot of the things that I've been seeing, right? We talked about essentially the proposed Bitcoin mining tax that was introduced by the Democratic Party, of course, Operation Choke Point 2.0, the arrest of the Samurai Wallet developers, the Tornado Cash developers, setting a precedent for essentially arresting people for writing open source code, Lightning wallets leaving the country. So I'm at a point where, a lot of Bitcoiners believe that talk is cheap and actions are expensive. The same day that the town hall was held yesterday, last week, the first town hall, that same day, the Fed and the FDIC sued Customers Bank. Customers Bank is one of the last remaining Bitcoin friendly banks in the US. And I just pinned on top of the nest the Alex Thorn thread. And essentially, what I find concerning is that Kamala is already looking at putting two key anti-crypto officials in her administration. These two officials worked with Elizabeth Warren in the past, and we all know how Elizabeth Warren feels about the industry. So, of course, from my
What are
perspective,
their names, sir?
I put it in the nest. I don't want to
It doesn't
mispronounce.
load instantly, so it's
Oh,
problematic.
yes. Sorry. I
No,
don't.
no,
I
no.
want to be.
Hey, I think it's that you scroll over one because I pinned something I think after he did.
Yeah. So I want to be respectful to their names, and I don't want to mispronounce them. But it is in the nest, and you can take a look at what I'm seeing, and what I'm just concerned about, guys. Like I'll put it to you guys frankly. Like the Republicans, excluding Trump, have made it part of the Republican Party platform to protect the industry, not only from a self custody perspective, but from a mining perspective as well. Right. And they're taking a generally pro Bitcoin stance. This has nothing to do with Donald Trump, but the Republican Party as a whole. And of course, RFK as an independent, I mean, his speech at the Bitcoin conference, I think, says it all, right? He's obviously very pro industry, not to mention that he's also offered to free Ross Ulbricht. So, from my perspective as a Bitcoiner, someone who covers the news, on a daily basis, what I'm really looking for is action. And what I'm seeing from the Democratic Party currently is talk. And that to me is quite disappointing. I think it's a major drop ball because these are potential votes that Kamala could lose towards another party, two other candidates that are offering a pro Bitcoin stance. So it's a little bit difficult for me, not only personally but also for my audience, to tell my audience, say, hey, listen, she hasn't come out and said anything publicly. She hasn't made it part of her policy, but we should trust her in the fact that she's going to change, potentially she's going to change her mind down the road, while at the same time she's appointing members to her cabinet that are.
Wait. But she hasn't. She isn't president yet. How did she appoint any members to
So
her
Yeah,
cabinet?
yeah, yeah. Like
But I
Nico,
also put
this
3 advisors up top that she has already said would be advisors that are pro crypto, and I pinned those up top and their names.
like Nico. This is Jonathan Padilla. Like I just want to hit this straight on. Like I want to say one, like I recognize the point. I read the Alex piece earlier this week. In fact, I flagged it for the Harris campaign. The Harris campaign is aware of the kind of crypto Twitter storm from yesterday, and they're looking into it. I'm like, what I can say is this. A lot of the time in trying to talk the campaign, and we assume this is a space, and I'm not saying this is a negative or a plus, I'm just stating it as a statement of fact. Like, we all assume there is a crypto point person. And the reality is, like, I think for both the Biden campaign, and you got to give Vice President Harris some slack. She became the nominee officially only about 10 days ago, got in the race 3 weeks ago. There's a ton of transition in terms of policy, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of human capital. It's a little chaotic. That's just what it is. So, crypto Twitter is going to say this and say about these appointments. These folks, granted they did work, for Senator Warren in some instances, but they're not focused on crypto policy. These are folks who have maybe some input, but they're not there to just basically bloviate on crypto. There's broad spectrums of economic policy that go far beyond crypto. So it is completely unfair to characterize the Harris campaign as basically these are actions. I think the Thorne piece, this is somebody who is not in the know. This is somebody I think who is trying to basically get the kind of report you see from Balaji and try to get people exasperated. But this is not somebody I think who actually understands what's happening inside the campaign. This is not somebody who understands how campaigns work. And I'll just wrap up here in saying that, you're 100% right. We got to see action. We got to see movement. Those things are happening. Those things are in the flight. And I think people are going to be impressed what's going on behind the scenes. And I'll just end by saying there's only one candidate in this race who's called Bitcoin and crypto a scam, and that's Donald Trump.
Real quick,
Yeah,
I think
and
I just want to jump in there really quickly on one point, Nico, and appreciate you coming up. And I've known you for a good bit of time, so appreciate the good faith dialogue, even though there's some major concerns that you might have. Just wanted to clarify on the GOP party platform. So the GOP party platform, typically the party platform process is done through the central committee. They create a breakout committee, actually, in fact, where they decide what's going to go into the party platform, the various planks that are going to be there. Usually that's a process that happens through the party. The party is sort of currently ran by the Trump family, not only Trump, but by his direct family members. And during the party platform process, which we were very interested in Satoshi Action, because they basically took right to mine and right to self-custody, which are Satoshi Action model policy that we created and passed into law in 4 states. And they took that exact language, copy pasted it right into the party platform. We were very curious, wow, our bills are now being used as the GOP party platform. How did this happen? And when we reached out to try to figure out what happens, it was very, very, very clear that that this was a top-down effort where the party platform was handed to the committee, and the committee was told that they were going to vote for the party platform. So not really. I don't think it's really super important detail other than that. It's the Republican Party being pro Bitcoin is very much, I think, an effort by the Trump administration to create a wedge issue for their side, and I think it's smart of them politically to do so. We have certainly seen tons of Republicans lead on the issue. I mean, Republicans are way out in advance on this issue, but I also just believe that's a nature of the fact that they are not the party in power, and also that Democrats tend to be a little bit more careful about when they take a stance on a major issue as a party. So a lot of dynamics at play. I do agree with some comments that were made, though, that there has been major movement. I think it was Jonathan saying that. I think you'd kind of have to be a little bit blind not to see that there is major headway being made right now with Democrats. Will it actually result in a positive outcome that I think some Democrats really want to see, which is the Harris campaign becoming pro crypto, pro Bitcoin? That's a big question mark. But the fact that it's even possible or realistic in this short time frame, given the past behavior by the current administration, is sort of would honestly be like a miracle if it was pulled off. And it is, I think, within the realm of possibility that it could be pulled off. And worst case scenario, we orange pill a bunch of Democrats along the way and allow them to become much more vocal on this issue, right? Because in the past it was like, don't talk about it, stay on the sidelines, um, and like quietly support Bitcoin and digital assets. But now many Democrats are becoming extremely vocal. I mean, you even have the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer vouching support for this stuff, and you could say, well, I don't believe him, we don't trust him, but you said, judge them by their actions. And Senator Schumer is whipping votes in the Senate to promote legislation passage. He voted in favor of SAB 121, and he is continually pushing Democrats to be supportive of this technology. So I do agree with you. We definitely need actions. I've been one of those people in the space who has said, we can't just let people tweet things. We can't just let people say they support this technology. We need to say real action, which is why at Satoshi Action we are so big on making sure that lawmakers not only introduce legislation but pass legislation into law. And we're proud to be the first organization in the world to pass a number of different things into law across the country. And we've also seen bipartisan support. Like, sometimes people get mixed up. They think, well, because Biden is, administration is on one side, that all the Democrats are over there. And I just couldn't disagree with that more. In a lot of the states where we've passed pro-Bitcoin legislation, like right to mine and right to self-custody, we've even had unanimous support from Republicans and Democrats as it was voted in. We've also had Democrat co-sponsors. So oftentimes I think people just look at like who's in charge and say, well, that's the entire party. And that's really just not the way that like I see it playing out in the US. And then also in 2025, we are on pace to have our first, Democrat progressive sponsored legislation in a deep blue state. So really interesting things. I think the tide is changing faster than we want to believe, and it happened faster with Trump and the Republicans than we thought. And I think it's also going to happen faster than we thought with Democrats as well.
Oh, for
Those
sure.
are all really good points. And I just want to say one thing. I was in the legislature, one of the top elected Democrats in the state assembly in California. And beware and be careful of distractions, because you're going to see a lot of that. And you see a lot of it, a lot of that stuff on this platform. I disagree with my staff all the time. Ultimately, my staff would advise me and provide details on different policy areas, to help me make a decision. But if I wanted to move in a direction, I moved in that direction because that's what I believed the right policy decision to be. And what's really important to focus on is be wary of litmus tests. They're not serious. If X doesn't happen, if Y doesn't happen, what happened tonight on the Crypto for Harris call and all of the Democratic leaders that were a part of that town hall shows real strong momentum. And we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot by throwing cold water on that. There was real momentum, there was real interest, and there are real leaders that are looking to do something positive in this space. And, sure, Democrats have been slower, but they're coming up quick. And they're really focused on getting educated and making the right policy decisions. That's what we want, and that's what we want to encourage. And so I just want us to stay in that frame of mind, because that's what's going to be the most helpful, and that's what's going to be the most impactful when it comes to the Harris administration, when she's elected, and all the people that are going to be around her. They need to see that. They need to see the coalitions that are being built and the real momentum, so that it makes it easier for her to be a friend with us. That makes a big difference.
For sure.
100%.
And Ian and Dennis, first of all, you guys have made great points. And Dennis, that I've always appreciated your work, especially on the state level. I think you've done wonders to protect the right to self-custody and also the mining industry as well. But again, just coming from a single issue voter perspective, it like essentially what I'm hearing from this conversation is like, trust the process, trust that Kamala is going to essentially change her mind on this, support, the industry.
I don't think it's trust though.
Rather than
I don't think it's trust. I think just it's give people an opportunity to work and see if they can make progress.
Oh,
I,
for
I,
sure.
I also don't think it's
Something that
changed
we
her
were
mind.
talking.
I don't think we really know what her mind is on crypto. She hasn't ever said what her personal point of view on it is, has she?
Yeah, no, that and again, guys, like that's why I put the Alex Thorne, thread in there, just to kind of show you guys where I'm coming from. This is something that happened very recently. So from someone who's observing this and seeing who, she's tapping to become advisors in her administration, and it's
But
people
those
that
are
have an
but those are rumors. Those are like, if you look at the way that it's written, like I read through the entire Alex Thorne piece, and I like Alex, like he's a nice guy, and generally we like have good conversations in public and in private. But with regards to just like, you know, the way it was written, you can see around the edges that it says, from sources who are familiar with the situation, right? Like I think people just need to really like remember that we're getting into the crazy time of elections, and that, you should wait and see how people react, and you should wait and see how they talk about these things, especially if they've never been in a position to talk about them before. Clearly, we know how the current Biden administration behaved around this issue, but just also keep in mind, like VPs are typically very different from their president counterpart on the ticket. That's why they usually get picked as a supporter or as a VP on the ticket, right? Look at JD Vance and Trump. Like JD Vance is an anti-Trumper, and yet he gets picked as a VP. So I would not assume in any way, shape, or form that just because Kamala was part of the Biden ticket, that she is in any way necessarily in alignment with the policies or procedures that move forward. Now, also, there's a lot of political politics is politics is very political, right? Like she's going to want to keep some of those people around that were in the Biden administration as a way to sort of continue to be able to get their support as they go into what will be a key presidential election. And so it looks like she's going to be keeping some people around. Some additional things that I've heard, but I'm not going to go, I'm not going to put a breaking tweet out about this, although I hope it does come true, is that she's looking for additional crypto advisors. That's a pretty common like rumor that we hear in the space. So I think you should just be open minded to the idea that those things could happen. If you don't want to be, that's fine too. Go to your partisan corners, and that's what people do.
No, no,
They end
but
up picking sides.
it,
But
Gentlemen, may I?
real quick, Emperor, it's just my final thoughts on this. And Dennis, like it's not like I'm not approaching this from a partisan perspective whatsoever. I'm just seeing that there's two candidates, the obviously independent RFK that has already taken a public pro Bitcoin stance, and of course the Trump party and the Republican party, they have taken a pro Bitcoin stance. So as a single issue voter, it's very difficult for me to just say, okay, I'm going to trust and hope that Kamala is going to change her mind. If she comes out tomorrow and she says, I'm going to support, I'm going to free Ross, like if I get elected, I'm going to free Ross, right? That would take the momentum out of Trump's campaign. That would take the momentum out of RFK's campaign. That's something that she can do, right? I don't believe Kamala's put up her policy on her website yet. So for me, I totally agree with you guys. Like this is a step in the right direction. The fact that we have the Democratic Senate leader like Chuck Schumer coming out and supporting it on the town hall is a big deal. The fact that you have heavyweights like Mark Cuban, Anthony Scaramucci, it's definitely a step in the right direction. But please understand where us single issue voters are coming from. We have action from two candidates, and then we have talk from another candidate. What we want is action. So that's my final thought, guys. I think you guys are doing an incredible job. I truly believe that Bitcoin is bipartisan. It helps everyone. Bitcoin is for everyone. I truly believe that in my heart. And
yeah,
I hope that Kamala and her campaign really capitalize on this and don't continue to make it a partisan issue like the previous Biden administration has done, because that created a major opportunity for Trump and RFK to capitalize on that. So, guys, I want to thank you so much for having me on the stage. Brian, Ed, Dennis, keep kicking ass, and really appreciate you
quick
guys. Thank you so much.
quick comment. Yeah, quick comment there. Yeah, Nico, totally. I agree. Especially as a single issue voter, I don't think you should base your voting decisions on hopes and dreams. Like you should absolutely be waiting till you see decisive action. I think Empress wanted to say something too.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Empress.
Hey, 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 hey!
Let
Right,
Empress
right
go.
before Empress. Hey, right before Empress. I know Atticus wanted you to say something. He's been messaging me in the back channel. So really quick, Atticus, and then Empress.
Yeah, and really quick, two things. One, completely understand, Nico, where you're coming from. I would say that despite the posturing, again, given Trump's track record, and this isn't just meant to deflect to him, but it's very precarious to try to pin him down on a policy that actually matters. And again, it's the clear difference between the parties. The Democratic Party takes a much longer, more rigorous approach to build consensus, just because you have to unite 45 different, very strong, very influential coalitions into one. Republicans don't really have to do that, and that's actually a strength of the Democratic Party in many ways, or just being affiliated with it. But on the other side, yes, the Democratic Party having that structural diversity is very different from the Republican Party, where it has turned into what I would call a cult of personality around Trump. And what we were just told before, it was a top-down directive that the party will now implement this. Now, when Trump inevitably changes his mind because somebody makes him mad or says something that he doesn't like, he's going to pivot on the issue again if it's convenient for him. So, I mean, I would say the word trust is the big thing. Trust, I mean, with Trump, it's a huge leap, a huge trust exercise that we're putting in him if we believe that he's going to follow through on crypto either, given, again, that he also doesn't know what he's doing. But the second thing would be, there's a link here, and I know Jonathan Padilla, who's on here, and actually Joe Carlosari, I guess I saw, who's also from Illinois. I haven't seen him in a while. But to JP's point, there's a link on here. And part of how we build momentum is showing that there are Democrats supporting Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party, and who are crypto native supporters of the Democratic Party. And the link there is a way to contribute to Kamala Harris. Now, the nice thing is these get tagged as being part of the crypto community. And what we want to do is I'm not here to just say you got to, donate or anything like that. But what it is if you are inclined to donate, if you're going to donate, or if you know somebody who would donate, we want you to reach out to the Crypto for Harris community. There's an email address, the fundraising Gmail address. JP, Jonathan's on here. I'm on here, other people. If the campaign sees and knows that we are a force that is helping them have the resources, it does change the political calculus. We all know that. That's how politics works. Again, I'm not speaking on behalf of said campaign. But this is a way so we can make sure that our efforts are tagged as crypto. And actually, I think that'll be a huge help as we continue to advocate and push for our policy positions, knowing that we do exist. They are hearing from us, and we're invested in her victory, and she doesn't want to, and the campaign won't want to betray kind of the trust exercise that they're building and the progress that we're making. I don't think they want to step backwards. We don't want them to step backwards either.
Atticus, can I ask you something? Again, guys,
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Nico, 1 minute. Let Empress go. She's been waiting to speak.
Okay, I was gonna be all cool and polite. Let's do it this way. Hi. So, you guys have lost the majority of any of the crypto right that was listening to this. They don't care. Like, you guys only address Bitcoin. The majority of them are singular issue voters. I literally, like, the alt right have comments and DMs talking about why are they putting the woman behind. That's weird. That's awkward as fuck. Additionally, like, seriously, what we should do, what Trump should do, how we should vote, they don't care. They want a whistle that says Kamala will somehow do something for crypto. That's what they want. They don't care that he has literally spent 4 years and didn't do jack shit for crypto. They don't care that he didn't actually build a wall. They don't use common sense. You can sit here and talk about what they should do, but they aren't common sense. They're MAGA. So you can talk about it relentlessly, but they're still backing his play, or we wouldn't be here. They don't even care that he's a fucking convict. So the logic doesn't follow. They want to know that she is going to back crypto one way or the other. And they don't care about the fact that we are deliberate and we are intelligent and that we were a divided party that shows two sides. They want to know that she's going to back crypto. The problem with the Democratic Party is we are intellectual, we are respectful of the duality of ideas, and we go back and forth versus the narrow minded, uneducated ideals of the right that say, yeah, get him with the pitchforks, blah, 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 blah. That's why we have the divergent thought, because we have multiple issues, because we're not singular issue voters. We are literally facing crypto, immigrants, and finances. That's it. We got three fronts. What we need is Kamala to say, hey, we're pro crypto. What we need to understand, yes, Bitcoin's free. Yes, it doesn't have to be bipartisan. You know what is? Access. Access is a issue for everybody because you know what Trump is going to do? He's going to stay crypto because that's deep pockets, because that's Coinbase, because exchanges matter, because in Oregon you can't use Binance, because Telegram already has to KYC through Coinbase, because when you are owned by the exchanges, that creates issues for accessing Bitcoin. Those are the problems that we're facing, not the actual cryptocurrency, it's access. So we need to address those issues. Thank you.
No, yeah, I agree. And you know what? Something got me today during Trump's rally I was watching. And a lot of people say Trump doesn't really understand crypto, might not understand the internet. I don't even think he understands the oil industry fully. Today, he made the comment during his rally. He said he was going to cut energy prices in half. He's going to cut them in half, which is, I mean, I think most people would agree that's pretty absurd. But how does he plan to do this? He says he's going to drill, baby, drill, right? But if you understand the oil industry, currently we're drilling more oil than we have in the history of the world. No country has ever drilled more oil than we've drilled in the last year per day, on the per day, or I guess it was in the last month per day. But his idea of reducing oil costs is drill, baby, drill. It actually wouldn't make that much sense because if you cut the energy prices in half, that means it's not going to be worth it for many American oil companies to drill for oil. It's actually going to hurt them if the prices fall and they're going to stop drilling. So he doesn't even understand this. He just says stuff to get votes. And I mean, all politicians do it to some extent, but he's the master of this. He just makes these promises knowing very well that he's not going to be able to fulfill them. Well, and to make matters worse, it wasn't just oil. He said electricity too. He's going to cut the electricity prices in half within 12 to 18 months of taking
But
office. He
they
doesn't
don't
actually
care.
say
They
how he's
just
going to
lap
do
it
it.
up, guys. But they don't care. They lap it up. They don't care about factual facts. They don't care. They don't care. So what we really need is a blinking sign above her head. Yay, we're here for crypto. That's all we need. That's all they care about.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
and,
go
and
ahead.
just like Brian, to kind of like address your point, Atticus, and like I obviously Trump is a divisive figure for a lot of people, and I understand that and I see that, but like again, I'm just looking at what has been released by his campaign. And you can totally say that there's a big part of his donor base that are publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies. You can say that the Winklevoss twins, made major donations to his campaign. You could absolutely say that. You can 100% say that. But what I'm seeing is he's going out to the community and he's basically saying, if you get me elected, I will protect your industry from hostile regulation. And what I'm seeing from RFK is the same. What I've been seeing from the Democratic Party, again, and I still haven't seen what Kamala has said, is the exact opposite. I'm seeing a hostility towards the industry. The proposed 30% mining tax on Bitcoin miners would destroy the industry in the United States, right? The attack on self custody, the attack on open source wallet developers, and what you guys are
Well,
doing
that's
is
a stretch
extremely.
because Coinbase has already done that, and since he's in Coinbase's pocket, then he's going to reinforce it. So you that's already implemented, and he's already on board with it. It's already done.
Empress, do you mind if I finish my point? Is that okay?
Yeah, sorry.
So the only thing that I'm saying is like, look, like what you guys are doing is extremely noble and it's extremely important because Bitcoin is a bipartisan issue. It is not a partisan issue. But what I'm seeing from the current administration, from the Democratic Party, and I don't think that they're properly representing their constituents, if you ask me, right? What I'm seeing is hostility towards the industry. And then until I see action as a Bitcoin broadcaster, as someone who has a platform, I can't tell my audience in good faith and looking myself in the mirror to vote for a candidate that hasn't come out and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to back off. I'm going to be pro Bitcoin. I'm going to be pro industry. And until I see that, I'm not going to change my mind.
Hey,
And
Nico,
Hey,
I think that's
Nico,
I think that's entirely fair, but I think she will be coming out and saying something about crypto. Go ahead, Jonathan. I
yeah,
do
like
want to
so,
get
Nico, like
about.
I want to respect, like you're not wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I don't think you're right either. You know, the reality is like trying to say that Vice President Harris has perpetrated these attacks on crypto is one, inaccurate. Like the Biden administration, and I'll say this on the record, I've said this on the record, has not been good for crypto. Said that at the beginning of the town hall we just had. It's been a disappointment. I say that as a pledged Biden delegate, and it was a major disappointment, one where I was not actively fundraising for the party because of how bad it was. To say the vice president is in on all these attacks, I think is a fundamental misrepresentation of how government works and of like the power available to the VP. The VP is not setting policy. I think somebody earlier talked about the differentiation between Vance and Trump and whatnot. So, you know, Kamala Harris understands innovation, is representing California in the Senate, which is a big deal if you think about an innovation-driven economy. We heard Adam Schiff about an hour and a half ago talk about how critical this is. You know, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is not just for economic innovation, but for national security. And so I think your points are valid against the Biden administration. I'm not going to defend the Biden administration. What I am going to say is like we have a clean slate with VP Harris, and our job is to push, and our job is to make sure that these issues are brought forward to the campaign and the policymakers. And I think what we all ask is like it's a completely respectable position to want to see action, and I think you're going to see it very quickly. But to kind of go all in on Trump, to the points Atticus made earlier, like he's one person in a situation where Trump goes away and the man, you know, is elderly. He's now the oldest candidate running for office. You know, he would be 82, and by the time he would end his administration if he wins. This is not somebody who's going to be there for the next decade, 20 years in the Republican Party politics. He has, 4 years tops. So you have to really hedge on the party and not the one person. And I think after what you saw tonight, the highest ranking member of the United States Senate basically calling for comprehensive policy, I mean, that's a strong indication. Like I'll say here tonight, the Elizabeth Warren crypto army,
Jonathan, I think you broke up there for a minute.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think that the Elizabeth Warren crypto army is dead. People like Chuck Schumer, people like myself want to make sure we put it 6 feet under.
Yeah, like people are I'm going back to what I said earlier. People are saying that Kamala Harris is going to just continue Biden's policies. We have to remember that Andrew Jackson was Abraham Lincoln's vice president. Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, and Andrew Jackson kind of didn't want to help the freed slaves. He kind of went against helping the freed slaves. So I mean, you can't just say because she was part of the administration that she's in agreement with everything Biden did, and that she can't have other ideas on how to progress the country forward in different ways. I do want to get to Nathan because he's been waiting for quite some time.
I want to get you, Nathan, too. I just want to give one little update because I saw this and it kind of irked me a little bit. Tyler Winklevoss kind of gave a statement on Twitter at 8:30 saying, attacking the Crypto for Harris event, saying pre-recorded videos, reading from scripts, Harris a no-show at her own event. What a clown show. Like this really pissed me off because like he should be the first person to be reaching out to Democrats and hoping that Democrats are going to do something and push Harris to embrace crypto. And he didn't even understand the event to begin with. It had nothing to do with Harris being there. She wasn't. This is people trying to push Harris to make change, not to get Harris to come on and talk. I saw Jonathan gave a good reply to that.
I'll just say quickly here, like Tyler, if you're listening, I welcome a debate. I welcome substance. We want to talk with you. because your views are important for this space. You know, Gemini is a major institution. You've done a lot of great things, a lot of great investments. If you're serious about making Bitcoin and crypto a post-partisan issue, reach out. We'll sit down. We have some amazing thought leaders who will go toe-to-toe in policy. And like, our goal is not to be combative. Our goal is to make sure that crypto becomes a post-partisan issue. And so I say that to Tyler and Cameron, and I believe that earnestly. So reach out. We're happy to do it. And, you know, just keep in mind that event we put together in less than 2 weeks, 3 senators, a lot of members of Congress. That substance, that's progress.
I mean, the
Brian,
majority leader showed up
Brian,
live
Ed,
too. I mean, come on, that's a pretty big deal.
So Brian, Ed, and Jonathan, this is my last bit, and I'll leave you guys. And thank you again so much for having me on the platform and putting this together. I truly believe this is incredibly important. But one last bit, I didn't infer that VP Harris was responsible for the actions of the Biden administration. And I also want to clarify as well that it's not only Trump. I also did mention RFK as well. So it's not just, oh, Trump versus Kamala. There's 2 candidates that are representing this a pro Bitcoin policy. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. Like I said, Brian, Ed, thank you so much for having me on the space. Dennis, keep kicking ass, man. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you around in the Bitcoin verse. And Jonathan, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation. And with
we got to work together. We got to work together. That's how we're going to get this done.
100%. That's how we win. Thank you guys
Nice
so much.
meeting you.
Have a great night. Yeah, likewise. Bye.
Thank you, Nico. Finally, Nathan. Sorry it took so long.
No, it's fine. I was afraid my phone shut down. So thanks for. I was trying to be patient. I saw it just clicking down, and finally shut down on me. So, real quick, I mean the biggest problem that I think that we face is the mouthpieces that we have on this from a real understanding. It's great, that Schumer jumped on. I don't think he has any great level of understanding of the depths of crypto. And at the end of the day, I know we're only as good as the staff, or people are only as good as the staffs that they employ. But I feel as though any long-term legislation that's going to be meaningful is only going to be upheld by leaders who actually gain a deep understanding of crypto. Otherwise, they're kind of just playing to whoever they deem to be either the wisest person in the room or in many of their cases, the loudest person in the room. And so
Oh, Nathan, you there? I think he's probably getting a call, or his phone died.
Would love to. I brought Joe.
You guys,
back,
can you hear me? Can you hear me at all?
Joe, go to you next. Nathan,
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and finish. Sorry about
I'm
that.
sorry about that. I said, my main thing is that my concern is, as complex as cryptocurrency conceptually can be, and how it's, rapidly evolving. It's not that I expect those people to be resident experts on it. It would be nice for them though to be able to speak intelligibly about it and not just hit buzzwords. My fear is those are the people who kind of shift public perception. And unless you have somebody at a higher level who has a great deal of knowledge behind it, because if all of a sudden you had Schumer just taking questions on it, I don't think he's going to be able to answer too many. He's got his set speech in front of him, his talking points, buzzwords, but I don't think that there's going to be a lot of bipartisan buy-in unless you have anybody on either side who's able to have an intelligent conversation about it when pressed, as far as their understanding goes.
Nathan, I don't know if I agree that Chuck Schumer doesn't know that much about it. He actually is pretty up to date when it comes to technology. I know he's had several meetings with Elon Musk over the years. I think he does know about technology. Is he in-depth knowledge, like he knows exactly how blockchain works, exactly how the mining process works? I doubt it, but I think he probably knows enough to be able to kind of understand where policy should go, or where a lot of people who are in crypto want the policy to go, if that makes any sense.
No, it certainly makes sense. But again, I understand that on the latter part, knowing where people in crypto want the policy to go, but being able to know when to be able to push back a little bit, to find compromise depending on who you are. But I mean, I think the problem lies that, this is a global model. The decentralization is a global model. And I think that it's very difficult for the layperson to stay up on it, let alone asking a politician who's hitting on a cycle every so often to hit these buzzwords to make sure that they get reelected. So I guess my question is there anybody that we feel can speak intelligibly when pressed to be able to be a viable sound piece for to actually sway public perception of crypto and get more of a buy-in for it?
I think there are some, especially some younger Congress members like Ro Khanna. I think he has an in-depth knowledge of crypto. I think he knows where the crypto space kind of stands. I think he talks to a lot of industry leaders. I think he's definitely somebody who would probably be a better, speaking head for the Democrats than somebody like Chuck Schumer. So something that Anthony Scaramucci said during the Crypto for Harris event was that Ro Khanna has had 2 meetings with the White House about crypto, and he brought, I don't want to call it a delegation, but a group of politicians left and right with him to the White House. So he's been talking to, I guess, the Biden administration, which includes Harris, of course, and he's trying to push for a more favorable stance.
Got it.
Yeah, I can confirm that
I'm sorry. I was just going to say real quick, Dennis, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak. And if you guys want, you can bump me back down. Thanks.
Yeah, I can confirm the Khanna people working overtime. Really excited to see them lead on this issue. And I think most importantly, as they lead on the issue, also making sure that they're promoting it in a way that is in alignment with Bitcoin being a nonpartisan or bipartisan technology. I think that's super critical. Like anytime someone gets out there and says like, oh, the left or the Democrats hate Bitcoin because they hate freedom is sort of like one of those things that makes me cringe the most because Bitcoin ultimately is just a technology that is for everyone. That is a well-known fact and is well supported by not only just like us talking heads up here in Twitter Spaces and the people that are on Twitter actively, but also it's been supported by reporting that it was done recently. There was a Nakamoto project that came out where it showed that the dispersity between who owns Bitcoin is very much spread across the different political spectrum, the varying political spectrum, and in fact that the far left was more likely to own Bitcoin in that report than the far right. So very interesting things, and glad to see that the Khanna people are jumping on that. I saw Joe was up here earlier. He got kicked back down. He came back up, so I'd like to go to him if we can, and then Terrence. But Joe, great to hear from you. Smart guy. We don't always agree on everything, but definitely appreciate your insights on all things legal. That's for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Ed and Brian. I'm just going to make a brief comment, and I wanted to share this coming up not as a partisan, but as a practitioner in the industry who has represented individuals and companies who have had to go to task and go to war with the United States government. And when I want to bring up the fact that I really hope this gets through, and we really have to get this right from the presidential race, is that there's been a lot of discussion about Congress. And I would absolutely love there to be legislation to come through Congress that comprehensively addresses the larger crypto and Bitcoin industry. That being said, I am not naive. I know that the 118th Congress is going to go down in history as one of the least productive in history. I think they passed 37 bills in total, right? And there's gridlock. And barring some supermajority, it is very, very unlikely, I think, that you get anything through Congress, any substantive piece of legislation. I think it's far more impactful and why this election is so much more important from the presidency, and I hope the vice president's team understands this, is the vast array of 3-letter agencies that are probably the biggest impediment to this industry in the United States. And I'm talking about the OCC, the FDIC, the SEC, the CFTC, Treasury in general, right? All of those will probably be more important for the industry as a whole going on the next 4 years than anything that comes through Congress. And that is my belief. You can tell me I'm wrong, and I'd love to see when there's a crypto bill that's comprehensive come through Congress. Put me down as a pessimist for that. I may be wrong, but my view is it's essential to get someone in the presidency who's going to put people in positions of authority in these various three-letter agencies so as not to crush this industry. And that is something that is solely and squarely within the power of the President of the United States. That's why this is so important. And quite frankly, I know you guys are, doing good work and you're trying to reach out to the vice president's team. I hope she understands that it does not take bipartisan consensus to say that they're going to get strong SEC chiefs in power that are going to have a more open-minded approach to this industry, that they're going to get strong people at CFTC and strong people at the FDIC and the OCC to address this industry, right? The president alone is appointing a lot of those positions when they come up to term, and that's why we really can't rely, even if we have a lot of allies for the industry in general, in a bipartisan basis in the Congress, we need to have someone in the presidency who's going to appoint folks to positions of power throughout those three-letter agencies. So I'm going to jump off stage unless there's any comments on that, but I think that is why the presidency and the presidency alone is extremely important, because if you talk to people in the industry, and I've represented them in court, right? They're far more concerned about are we going to get some real leadership at the SEC than if a bill's coming through Congress. That is what I hear time and time again. They do not want some sort of draconian chiefs at all these positions of authority that are just going to come down and crush the industry.
Yeah,
Well, that's what we talk about. I'm sorry.
No, just a quick comment there, Joe. I think you're right, absolutely, on the power of the president and the importance of the president. And also with regards to those agencies, they have been major hindrances to the adoption of Bitcoin and digital assets across the country. I think that's why, that letter that was co-authored by those 27 Democrats, it was calling on the DNC there was a number of different things it called on, but one of the most important that it was calling on was the appointment of an SEC chair that would be favorable towards Bitcoin. So luckily, it sounds like, I don't know if anyone has confirmed this or not yet, but I've definitely seen that there is word that Gensler is going to retire on the other side of the presidential election. I don't know exactly the timeline or if that's true, but that's just what's being reported right now. And so that would give, if there's a Democrat president in 2025, that would give them the opportunity to be able to replace Gary Gensler with someone that was more favorable towards the technology. And then additionally, I think, just it was great to see those 27 Democrats write that letter. I was trying to look for it just now. When I posted about it before, I did a video about it. So if you search 27 Democrats, it pops up and I talk a little bit about the changes that they want to see in the DNC. But that is a key one, right? It's like those agencies, getting people in there, particularly with Operation Choke Point 2.0, this banking issue that's going on where they're debanking folks. You have Customers Bank and then all the other things that are going on with Custodia and the various other banks that have been denied access to the traditional banking system. We do actually have a state solution for that. I don't want to get into it too much here because it's not the point of the conversation, but it's a major problem. And I think that there's a few ways we can fix it. You obviously could do it at the federal level, but there is an option to do it at the state level as well. So, but yeah, just wanted to final comment on
Yeah,
that. I thought it was
but
great your
Dennis,
point on the SEC and the various regulatory bodies.
yeah. So Dennis, just so we're aware, we're not talking past each other. If Gensler doesn't retire voluntarily, right? If there is the vice president wins the race, right? Gensler's term goes till 2026, right? And unless she ousts him, right, he will remain chair. And keep in mind, right now, the United States government, by way of the SEC, is in court saying Coinbase, the largest exchange in the United States, does not have a right to exist. That is their theory put forward in the litigation, that they do not have the right to exchange related activities because they failed to register properly when there isn't a proper path to even register for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. It's critical that he gets removed and replaced. And, Joe, stay up here. I'm sure you have more comments to add. You generally have some pretty good color to add to the situation, but would love to get Terrence just because he's been waiting for so long.
Hey, thanks, Dennis. Great comments, Joe, and thank you to the Krasenstein brothers for their work and the space. So basically, I differ a little bit from the others in that I think that what's best for Bitcoin, and I'm a Bitcoiner, is I think an administration that understands it, does the thorough review that the Krasensteins talked about, but also they continue to prosecute crimes and go after scams that we know is very prevalent in crypto and even on Bitcoin, right? There's all these scams on Bitcoin. Thankfully, the trading volume seems to be pathetically low, so they're not very successful at that. But I think that so many Americans have been burned, working Americans, retail, middle class, lower middle class, and so forth, the working poor, they've been burned by crypto. And that's why I think when you have people speak at OSU, like my friend Chris Pan did, they'll get booed, right, by the audience. When you have Democrats hesitate, it's not just Elizabeth Warren, it's constituents complaining to their congressmen and congresswomen and their senators whenever they lose their life savings or they know a loved one, their aunt or grandpa or whatever, losing their life savings in crypto from trading. So I think that Bitcoin, I hope we can work with the crypto people on this, but we have our differences and I hope we can set them aside to find common ground. But I really think that what really matters is Bitcoin as number go up technology and hard money. And crypto is great, right, for what it is, for memes and casinos and whatever other digital collectibles you guys are doing, but it's not as important as Bitcoin. So I hope we can find common ground on that.
All right. So this has gone for about 2 hours now. We plan to do it for about an hour, hour and a half. So it's gone a little bit longer than we even expected. It's been a great conversation. I do see David with his hand up, so I do want to get to David, and then I think we'll probably shut things down. It's been a great space. I want to thank Dennis. I want to thank everybody who came up to speak. We had Governor Polis up here. We had Scaramucci tried coming on. We had some issues. I know a few speakers tried coming up and it glitched out and it wouldn't connect them and let them speak. Sorry about that. I know the spaces have had a few issues today. But go ahead, David.
That's a lot of pressure to end the thing. But
yeah, it better be a good closing.
I'll do my
statement.
best. I want to. My name is David Karstens. I'm the Democratic candidate for Texas State House District 66. I want to thank everyone for letting me speak here at the end and crash your party. I think I couldn't have gotten a better spot because I do want to follow up on what Terrence said. I think there's a lot of conversation around Web3 and crypto and Bitcoin that has this very, even if it's not partisan, even if we, reshaped the conversation in such a way that it wasn't about Democrat versus Republican, you're going to hear a lot of pro-Bitcoin, anti-Bitcoin ways of framing these arguments. And I think that does a disservice to the technology. I think this is technology. We're still in early days. I'm not sure we actually have figured out the most effective, best uses of blockchain technology yet. But I think when we frame the conversation like that, we're setting ourselves up for failure. When we frame the conversation like, you're either pro the environment or pro Bitcoin, or what you're doing there is stopping us from having intelligent, policy-driven solutions to problems that a complex technology might cause. Or you're stopping us from having conversations about how to best deal with the extra scams that might pop up as a result of a decentralized kind of Wild West technology environment. And so I think, in a way, I'm happy to have been in this space and heard some people talk about it more like that. But, if there's a thing that Democrats are really good at, it is waiting for a long time and then maybe coming up with the right policy at the end of the day. I think one of the other things I'm worried about hearing in the political sphere in general, that I'm agreeing with people here in saying is I don't think very many of these people understand this. I'm a very young political candidate. I'm still in my 20s and I grew up around technology. My dad is actually in the venture capital world, specifically in Web3 and crypto stuff. And so I grew up around this. And I just think the conversation around it is really broken. And I think when you're mostly people who are in their 70s, who really should probably be retired, when those are the guys who are talking about this, you're going to get guys who truly have no idea what it is, who are running because it's scared, because hell, they're scared of their own computer when they try to do an email. that was my 2 cents. I really think the main thing we could do to help accelerate this technology and make it a more inviting political environment for it is to start talking about it complexly and to kind of change the narrative around it a little bit. Anyways, thank you so much for letting me speak and crash your party.
No, thank you, David, and I agree. And I think one of my biggest concerns for Democrats is that they don't. I hope they don't look at this as a wedge issue. I hope they don't say, "Oh, Republicans, Trump, they're all supporting crypto. They're all pushing crypto heavily. This would be a good way to differentiate ourselves from Republicans." And I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. Like hearing Schumer speak today, hearing several other politicians speak today, it doesn't seem like we're headed in that direction. But with so many issues, it's sometimes just Republicans like it, so Democrats have to hate it. Democrats like it, so Republicans have to hate it. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I think it's important that we keep pushing for that not to happen. If you have any influence over anybody, I think it's worthwhile to push for unity on this issue rather than making it a wedge issue. Before we close out, I just want to
Wait,
say,
Brian, can I ask you a
wait,
question real quick?
go for it.
When Bitcoin versus crypto degen space?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Terrence threw the gauntlet down. When Bitcoin versus crypto degen space?
I don't know. We'll have to think about that. So I want to just say follow the speakers up here. Many of these people up here and who have been up here earlier are definitely people that are for crypto, that are Democrats. There's more Democrats for crypto than people realize. I wanted to ask Will and Clay, who had the Crypto for Harris event, how many people showed up. I don't know if Dennis, you know, but there's a lot of people. We had almost 500 people in this space at one time, and we only promoted it a couple days in advance. So don't fall for the misinformation that Democrats don't support crypto. We do. I've been in crypto since 2012. I've known many Democrats who have embraced crypto. In fact, in the early days, there were mostly Democrats and libertarians who were embracing it. So it's misinformation. Just keep remembering that. Dennis, any closing remarks?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a critical time right now that we take advantage of the shifting winds. The winds have clearly shifted towards a future where we can all be supportive of Bitcoin. For a long time, I've been saying that, we were in a world where we were trying to decide as a country whether or not we should be doing Bitcoin. But I think we're entering a new paradigm. We're entering a better paradigm, which is that we start to fight over how we do Bitcoin. And so I look forward to those vigorous policy debates. I think that they were even brought up earlier. I think you will see vigorous, very vigorous policy debates over how we actually utilize Bitcoin and digital asset technology in the United States. And I am really excited about the fact that there's so many folks on the left and the right now trying to fight for this issue, right? In a way, it's great to see that both sides are competing over Bitcoin and digital assets. I think a lot of people were worried that when Trump and the GOP started to lead on the issue, that it would cause Democrats to take the other side of the coin. But I think just the opposite has happened. You've seen so many Democrats come out of the woodwork, not, I mean that in a positive way, to show that they have been supportive of this technology for a long time. It's great to have Governor Polis here vouching for his support of the technology, even saying that he is very interested in seeing the right to self-custody and the ability to mine Bitcoin, that those access points are protected. And Empress, earlier you said a great comment, which is like access, protecting access. I think that's critical. We have to truly be able to protect the access to the technology itself. Otherwise, if you're not actually using Bitcoin, then you're not truly connected to the technology. You're not truly using it. So thank you again to Brian and Ed for letting me co-host this Spaces with you. I look forward to doing more of these in the run-up to the election. It's going to be a critical election, one where we're going to see a lot of change, I believe, from both sides of the aisle on this issue over time. And I'm so excited that Trump and potentially Harris, we'll see, are going to be battling for that Bitcoin and digital asset single issue voter. So thank you everyone again for being here. And again, make sure you give Brian and Ed some props for putting this together and making it become a reality.
Yeah, and I think the whole Bitcoin initiative by everybody in America is similar to the no tax for tips. Like we should embrace multiple parties embracing something that we all think is fair, right? So keep that in mind. Thanks, Dennis. Thanks, Ed. Thanks everybody that came up to speak. And like Dennis said, we'd love to do more of these. I know several people that wanted to make it tonight couldn't. I know Rokana wants to do something similar to this. And this isn't the last one. We'll try and do more of these probably in the next month or two. Good night, everyone.